anyway, I kind of don't know what we're going to talk about, and that's very exciting.
Okay,
And I don't know. Do you want to introduce yourself?
sure, sure. My name is Dr. Ralph Piedmont. I'm a personality psychologist. Right
Okay,
now,
I'm already intrigued.
I know, me too.
oh,
I'm like, this is great.
this is great. Okay. You're just going to encourage me to make up new credentials now, so I don't want
Oh,
to.
yay.
Let's hear them.
I
So
am
what,
uh, I am the managing director for the Center for Professional Studies. This is an organization that does a lot of program evaluation research. It supports studies on measurement, especially when we look at existential engagement. I've been working. Originally I worked with Costa McCrae on the five-factor model of personality. I don't
Oh,
know.
ocean?
ocean?
Well, NEOAC is the way they talk about it.
Right.
Everybody else uses ocean, but
Why use a useful acronym?
well, Costa McCrae always went NEOAC.
Yeah.
I was their postdoc 25, 30 years ago. That's what I learned. That's what I do.
No, no, I'm just saying like academia feels like their attitude is anything to make things more obfuscating.
Well, in some ways, it's not. There's two different levels to the Big Five. There's the Big Five, which are the personality dimensions. That's the
Why
ocean
don't you just go
personality.
over, because not everybody will
Yeah,
know
I'll,
what that
I'll
is.
get
So,
there. I'll get there.
okay.
And then there's the five-factor model of personality, which is a more theoretically developed understanding of these personality dimensions as being intrinsic, genetically determined qualities of human personality.
So it's
And
almost like state versus trait.
well, in some ways, yes, it's an
Yeah.
application versus the underlying latent dimension that's there. And when we talk about the five-factor model, it's N, E, O, A, and C. So what are these dimensions? Well, N is neuroticism. It looks at negative affect and different varieties of that. Extroversion is our second dimension. It looks at two things. It looks at our outgoingness, our personability, as well as our personal energy levels. People high in extroversion can have a lot of charisma and charm and upbeat tempo, and they're excitement seekers, etc. The third dimension is openness to experience. Openness, contrast, creativity, flexibility, wanting to do new and different things, explore new realities versus a more rigid, dogmatic, and need for structure kind of approach. The fourth dimension is agreeableness. Agreeableness looks at our interpersonal, or look at other people. Okay, extroversion is do I like being with other people? Agreeableness is how do I see other people? From very compassionate, caring, supportive to very manipulative, self-centered, and Machiavellian on the other end. And then finally, there's conscientiousness, which looks at our goal-driven behaviors. People high on conscientiousness are high on achievement motivation, personal organization, personal reliability. They're achievement-oriented versus being much more go with the flow, very flexible, and looking for the easiest way out. Now, a lot of the work that I've been doing and why I was at the same conference you were is
Wait a
that
minute. I got it. I think okay, hold on.
what? Holding, holding.
Can we go slower on this? Because the way you were describing those, I feel like I could guess what your high types are. It almost feels like there's a value judgment, like conscientiousness. If you're too flexible and go with the flow, it
Mhm.
almost sounds like you're saying lazy, but conscientiousness, high conscientiousness in the other direction can lead to too much concern about detail and not no capacity, like almost rigidity, right?
Philosophy.
Well,
Yeah.
rigidity would be openness to experience, but you
Well,
can
but
be
I mean almost
overly
rigidity in the
competitive.
terms of like a task.
You're committed to the task. You can become compulsive about the task.
That's what I mean. Okay, yeah, better than
That's
rigidity,
see, that's the
compulsiveness.
great thing about the five-factor model is
Yeah,
that it's a taxonomy of personality traits.
yeah.
So just like we have the taxonomy of all living thing, Linnaeus' system, kingdom, family, phylum, class, order, genus, the big five also organizes personality traits along these five content areas. And I can understand any personality variable by correlating it with the big five. And
So, but do you have judgments around, or do you
well, I
find it
guess that's the
reduces, do you
problem.
find it reduces your judgment?
No, actually, if you're making judgments, you're using personality wrong.
Yeah.
Personality is what personality is. It's an intrinsic adaptive structure that we have that is consistent across situations and stable over time.
Wait
Uh,
a minute. Wait a minute.
yeah, it's a lot
Yeah,
there.
we say it again. The person, this is your definition of personality. I think it's super interesting. Can you say it again?
Yes, personality represents that intrinsic adaptive organization of the individual that's stable over time and consistent across situations.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's who you are.
So,
Personality is what it is. Okay. You
but
don't
what do
want,
you do with someone like me who like can be extroverted when needed? But my default is introversion. But so that doesn't feel stable over time. That almost feels like a state-based or context-based
no, not
use.
at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
But
Well,
let
how
me
do you
make my
describe that?
Okay, let me make my first point.
Oh
Personality
yeah.
is what it is. It's neither good nor bad. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, you could say, people like to say, well, isn't it good to be conscientious and not low on conscientiousness?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the situation that you're in, the lifestyle that you have. Both high and low conscientiousness have both adaptive and maladaptive aspects to them.
Yeah.
You may say, oh, I like being conscientious, but okay, that's your value judgment, but it's got bad things associated with it. Some people can become obsessive compulsive, overly focused. They don't see the bigger picture, but only see their narrow goals.
Mm-hmm.
Their competitiveness, their achievement orientation could take them away from family and relationships because they need to make money. Um, as opposed to somebody low on conscientious, more flexible, or more laid back, more calm, goes with the flow, more like your 60s hippie kind of person, just enjoying the situation. That could be a good thing. It's low stress, but it could also not allow you to really get to the goals that you want to get to, that you easily tire and fatigue, and you tend not to go anywhere with that. That could be a good or a bad thing, depending on who you are and what your lifestyle is.
Okay. Thank you for comforting me.
And extra, there's two qualities. There's the interpersonal style and the energy style.
Yeah.
These are separate,
Oh,
these are separate things.
what's
Okay.
the difference?
Well, the difference is um, people can be different on those two qualities.
Hmm.
Like, I'm very high on the energy part of extroversion,
Yes, you are.
very low on the interpersonal part. So
Okay.
when I go out, I mean, I can be extroverted. I teach, I give lectures, I have interviews like this with interesting people. I can be perky, bright-eyed, and ooh, look at me. But after this, I need to take a nap because this is a net energy drain for me from
Oh,
my
me too,
other side.
totally. So I
Absolutely.
think I'm that way. So I'm an interpersonal introvert and
You're an
a
introvert, but
energy
higher on the
extrovert.
energy. And
Yeah.
that's me. And you look at my profile, I score high on the energy and low on the interpersonal. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean I can't be interpersonal. It doesn't mean that I can't be with people and be in large groups. I
Yeah.
certainly can. It's an energy draining experience.
Yeah.
I have friends of mine who are very high on that extroverted part. And they can go out like my wife. Okay, look at my wife. She's a CFO, and she spends a lot of her time in meetings all day long. She'll get up at 8:30. She's on Zoom calls talking blah 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 blah. Gets finished at 7:30 at night with all of this. It's like, finally. And then what does she do when she's done with all those calls? She'll get on the phone and call our daughter or our son or her brother, and have more calls, because talking and interacting with people gives her energy, puts wind under her wings. And so she really likes that. For me, oh, if I had to do that, I couldn't last too long at that job. It would be too draining for me. Uh,
Got it. All
so,
right. Cool. Well, so Carmen, what are you thinking?
Well, I want to know why were you on what part of this did you talk about at the conference? Because
ah,
you
ah,
said something about existential something or
yes,
other.
there's our conscientious person right down here. Is that Carmen? She's high
She
on.
even wrote it down.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. A lot of my work has been asking the question, are there other personality dimensions beyond the big five? You know,
Yes, that would be another question I would have
yes.
asked you.
Now, the big five is an empirical model, which is a good thing, because ultimately it's a flexible model. It's not static, because as data come in, if you meet certain criteria, you can show that there is another dimension of personality, which is exactly what I did. and that a lot of my research, starting and looking at spirituality, has taken me to a sixth dimension that I call the numinous. All
Mm.
right, the numinous has everything to do with our
Mm.
ultimate existential engagement with life. Okay, it's
Mm.
about actually, to me, the numinous is a uniquely human psychological quality. Psychologically, it defines our species. Only humans have this capacity.
How
We
do you
only
know only humans have it?
because no other animal has the brain power that we have.
Ooh, hold on. What? Okay.
Absolutely,
That's so interesting that you can say absolutely.
absolutely,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
okay, hold on. We're gonna
Go for it.
this is gonna take half an hour.
Okay, go for it.
Because first of all, let's hear your definition of numinous and help us understand how it's differentiable from the others empirically.
So
And then
are you spelling humanism like
Numin,
N-U?
Num.
as a mother,
Okay.
Yeah, let me just, where is the
IN is in Nancy, OUS, numinous.
Okay,
It
numinous.
often indicates like it creates an experience of awe.
Actually, it is. It's about
Yeah.
all wonder. It's about the, again, Eric Erickson talked about that in his developmental model. It's
Yeah.
one of the positive outcomes to his first stage, trust
Okay.
versus mistrust.
So so whenever someone says, "Oh, this is a uniquely human thing and animals don't have the capacity,"
Mhm.
and you're talking to someone who like really, really spent a long time thinking about how the brain is built and looking across species at different brains, and even the statement that other animals, numinous, forgetting the argument, let's just talk about any argument that says that other animals don't have the capacity, the brain
You
power.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, except that's bullshit.
No,
Because
it's
any
not.
okay,
Let me give you an
but
example.
no, I'm not because I'm going to explain to you. I'm not going to let that right now
Okay.
because I'm going to explain to you why that's bullshit.
Okay.
Well, I want to
Okay,
hear both sides.
we're
Yeah.
going to hear both
You know.
sides, but I'm going
Okay.
to but I'm going to explain why that's bullshit because we don't understand the neural code. So we don't know what brain power is. We don't know how to put a jellyfish's brain power on a scale with an earthworm's brain power, with a fish's brain power, with an elephant's brain power, with a killer whale's brain power, with a human brain power. We don't understand the neural code. We don't understand how consciousness interacts with the brain.
Mhm.
No one on the planet does.
Well, that's irrelevant. I can still make my claim. That
Okay,
doesn't mean
great,
anything.
great.
Just
Let's
because we don't understand something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means that we don't understand it. We don't understand the neural code. We don't even know how it works in human beings, much less any other species.
right. So how would you calculate brain power?
Well, again, by you judge the tree by the fruit it bears. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Squirrels. Let's look at squirrels.
Okay.
You know what a squirrel is, right?
Yeah.
Carmen? You know those little
Yes.
furry things with the little tail thing? 50,000 years ago, what were squirrels doing?
I have no idea.
Well, they were looking, foraging for nuts and food.
I
They
would
were
say the
living in
same thing
trees.
they
They were
do
trying.
now.
What's that?
I would think the same things they do now.
Exactly. It's the same thing they're doing today, is the same thing they did 50,000 years ago. Human beings, 50,000 years ago, what were we doing 50,000 years ago? Well, we were
Still don't
trying to
know.
survive. Let me finish. We're still trying to survive, probably hunting squirrels for meat and food. We're trying to get by, trying to make a living and eke our way at it through life. And now you fast forward 50,000 years, what are human beings doing now? We've mastered the planet. We've gone into space. We've found places to live on every habitat on this planet. We're 7 billion strong people. 50,000
Eight.
years ago, there was
Eight.
like 40,000 of us.
8. I'm verging on 9.
Yeah, all right,
But
9 billion. And we're feeding all these people using less land and space to do it. We're becoming more efficient, more understanding. We've mastered techniques. We're very different from every
Okay,
other.
I think Ralph is the perfect person to ask my eternal question.
Ooh,
This is a question I ask a lot of people. I've asked it in front of Julia. So,
ooh,
but I'm not sure that I asked you directly. I don't
okay,
remember.
shoot.
So I'm fascinated to know everything we could know about when did humans decide to differentiate themselves from other animals. You know the question, right?
Yeah.
Under
Well, about
why?
300,000 years ago is what they're saying.
Well, but tell me why, how it went, when you said, okay, what led at some point humans, so this is what I'm thinking. Humans, and then this begs the question of whether dogs know they're dogs, as opposed to any, not, we're not squirrels, we're whatever, we're dogs.
Mhm.
But at some point, humans actually became aware, assumed, hypothesized that, oh, we're beyond animals, or we are
Oh, a
other,
long time.
we are, we
I
are,
don't know. I don't
they,
have the date for that.
they othered animals.
Yeah.
How did,
Yeah.
I think that's an incredibly important question,
Yeah.
and I have yet to come across a good answer for it.
And by the way, the evidence that we
Well, I
othered animals, I mean, the fact that we othered animals doesn't necessarily speak to our intelligence.
Oh, absolutely it does. It's our intelligence that's our most adaptive feature. As an animal, we're the least tied to instinctual strips over any other animal. We're able to pick and choose what we want to do, how we want to do it. We're able to think creatively, abstractly. We're able to anticipate events over long periods of time. Again, we can think about ourselves as having an immortal soul. We can think about having an eternal lifespan that we're going through, but we can make long-term plans. We plan at 26 for our retirement at 65. What other animal thinks that far in advance? What other animal can organize and put things together? What other animal has the capacity for tool making and tool
What
application
other
as
animal
human
has
beings?
made a culture that requires them to think so far in advance because
Well,
of
we
all
have, that's our
the
brain.
conflict that's built in to the
Well,
culture?
I
either
I think,
way, that his point is made. If we
yeah,
think,
No,
I
I mean,
think
I know
it's,
there's
yeah,
a difference. Clearly there's a difference between humans and other animals. Clearly,
yeah.
there
clearly.
you go.
But I'm just the argument that the difference is that we have more brain power, or the
We
difference
do.
is okay, or the I mean, like you can't, no one can actually calculate that, so whatever.
Well, but you see,
But
you
like
missed the point on that. You keep
no,
going
I
with this
didn't.
calculate. You need to have a quantitative number.
What I'm
Only a human being would want that. No animal says, "Well, show me quantitatively. I'd like to see a report on
but
why
you're
you think as a human being you're better
yes,
than."
but Ralph, you missed the other point, which is that you assume all the things that humans do that are different than animals are progress or better than what animals are doing.
No, I'm saying they're different. I'm
I
Okay,
not
don't
well,
think
saying. See, you're
I would
making the
just
value
say
judgment.
I don't think he has to assume that.
well,
All
but
he's saying is that they're different in kind.
oh
They
Yep.
fit
no,
in a
that's not
different
true
category.
because he was saying we have more we have more
We
brain
do.
power. So he has to make the argument that only species with more brain power would do these
And
things.
I agree with you, Julia, there. You're arguing from the fruits, from consequences. And that's an okay argument. It's your only argument because we have no way of measuring brain power. I get that.
No, but
So but I think it is interesting that humans appear to be okay. So where do you put ants?
again, another animal follow. They're very instinctually scripted. I mean, they have a very small brain. They can't. They're not figuring things out. They follow fear gnomes. They follow what's ever programmed inside of
So
them.
you think that we are not. So this is interesting. So that
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think
yeah,
that's the big assumption you're making
that's
is
the big
that
assumption is
we're
that you think
we're
Well,
that we're
not
humans do.
instinctively scripted.
yeah.
Again, if they're not
That's the difference.
scripted, where's the diversity in their behavior? You see,
Um,
human beings.
no,
Here's
no, we're
another
not
special
saying
thing.
no, no, hold on. We're not, I don't think I'm saying that ants aren't scripted. I'm saying that you think that we aren't. You think that when we
We're
make a
the
decision,
least. No, we're the least
Yeah,
attached
he
to
says we
instinctual
believe.
scripts of any animal.
yeah, and what I'm
Now,
saying
we do
is
have some
that's
background
interesting.
instincts there. Again, that's evolution. Evolution is all part of us as
Yeah,
we
yeah,
move
yeah.
forward.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm
Ontology,
familiar with this
yeah.
story. This is the
Ontology
story.
recapitulates phylogeny. So,
Yeah, I'm
yeah, we have
familiar with that story.
resonance of that
I'm
as
just
well.
saying, like, I'm like one of the chief proponents of not that story being that story is false. So
Okay, so I still
yeah,
want to hear because no matter how interesting this becomes, we still only have an hour. I still want to hear. So, what was the core of the presentation you made?
Yeah.
The core about my presentation is talking about the numinous or ultimate existential engagement. Again, these are things that no animal does because no animal has the brain power to really conceptualize this. And one great example is religion. You know, religion and spirituality is a uniquely human phenomenon. There are no animal models for this. There's no evidence. In fact, archaeologists, when they're going out digging up, the past, always know when they dig up a human grave site because that person who was buried there was buried intentionally and that the bodies are placed in a certain way. There's evidence of gifts that were there, grains and materials,
Right.
because they're talking about an afterlife there, and this is sacred. This is special. No animal does that. We
Wait a
don't.
Okay,
minute. What do you?
so a couple of things.
Yeah,
Sorry,
let's
a
talk
couple of
about that.
things. Uh,
Mhm.
I've always thought, often when I get asked the question, when, how, why did humans decide to other animals? I will get the response, oh, it's when we started burying people. And I always say, no, that's a consequence of
No,
our
that's a consequence of who we are.
of
Not
our
about that. Has
perception
nothing to
of
do with
ourselves
animals.
as somehow different from animals. And then the other point I want to make is there are some animals, elephants, the apes, who
Mhm.
clearly grieve. I mean that it's been
Whales
shown
too,
they
toothed
grieve.
whales.
Whales,
Hmm.
Yeah,
whales,
yeah, yeah.
and they don't have the ability to manipulate tools so that they can't bury each other.
No.
But perhaps if they
Oh,
did have
apes
that,
could. Apes could.
yeah.
They have the opposable thumb.
So what's your how do you think of them? Are they did they somehow well actually even I think was I reading bees will bring their dying bee back to the hive or something
Well,
like
yeah,
that?
and even dogs will do this kind of
Yeah,
thing
but
with
you
puppies. I
know
mean,
what? Human beings are the only animal that know from the get-go that someday we're going to die, and that's
This
an issue
appears to
that.
be true. This appears to be
I
true.
would,
Well,
I
it
would,
is. I
I would
mean,
buy into that. I would
animals
buy
may
into that.
know. Animals may recognize an impending death.
Yes, this
And
also
an
appears
animal
to be
gets
true.
sick and they go to the corner and they want to do that. They don't
They
know
want
from
to
the get-go
die
that they're going to,
privately,
yeah,
usually.
but they don't know that they're going to die from the get-go, and they don't make plans about that from
But
early
why
on
does
in their
that
life.
matter? Like, let's
That's the
say, let-
long-range intellectual power that humans have that animals don't.
or something. But
It's intellectual power for me. I'll define it as that.
I get that it's intellectual power for you. Um, well, my question is now, why does it matter? So, when you were giving your talk at Iris, which I did not see because I was dealing with all sorts of things, didn't see any other talks. Um, why does it matter if we're separate from animals on the numinous? What is interesting to you about that we're separate from animals on this?
Oh, because you know what? I'll tell you my story on this one here. As a psychologist, it's really interesting to know that all the things that we talk about are all have animal models to them. Depression, isolation, family dynamics, and it
Even
was
obsessive compulsive disorder, there's a
there's
model.
animal models for that, and
Yeah.
depression and all these other things. It was interesting when I was an undergraduate, I was taking an abnormal psych course, and we were going through this one disorder, and the professor said something that really just hit me, and it's always been with me. And he said that this disorder is a uniquely human disorder.
Interesting.
Oh, I thought that because he says there's no animal models for it. We can't create an animal model for it. And it seems only to be for human beings. And you know what that disorder is? Any guesses?
Something to do with the numinous.
No, well, ultimately, I will bring it there. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a uniquely human disorder. Now, what is schizophrenia? Well, ultimately, it's a cognitive disorder that
Yeah.
represents a profound breakdown in personal meaning. I
Uh-huh.
mean, schizophrenics are unable to pull a sense of identity out, a sense of coherence and plan. And that's where the schizophrenia is. And what I find interesting is that the numinous, I believe, is the other end of that dimension. It's that part of who we are where we create ultimate meaning for ourselves, a resilient sense of meaning that can guide us through our entire life. So
Mm.
there is this meaning-making
Very
capacity that
interesting.
human beings have
Mm.
at a tremendous level that no other animal seems to share it.
That's powerful. Thank you. I'm so glad we got there because now I'm thinking about, okay, but it's sometimes people with schizophrenia will make all kinds of meaning, but it's not coherent and it doesn't sustain them.
Right.
It ends up being pathological because it doesn't help.
Right.
It's like
Because
my meaning is that I'm Jesus, or my meaning is that in whatever they're out to get me or whatever.
whatever.
But that's meaning that is non-numinous. Numinous is by definition the sense of it's a
Transcendent.
yeah, it's self-transcendence. It's a self-transcendent sense of awe or wonder and recognition of the interdependencies and connection. And so the grandiosity, et cetera, can't really be there in the same space as the numinous.
Right.
That's really beautiful.
Right.
It
And
is.
also, just to keep going on it, the schizophrenic, when you look at their self, their sense of self is all wrapped up in whatever sense of their own personal identity.
Yeah.
The numinous person, the person high on the numinous, has a sense of self that ultimately can embrace all things in life.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a bigger
Yes.
sense. I have a term, for many, many years, we're always trying to ask the question, what's the opposite end of spirituality? What's the low pole? When someone says, I'm not spiritual, what does that mean? Well, it took like 25 years, but I finally came across a concept that applies. And I
Yeah.
got it from a Eastern Orthodox theologian. It's called hyparxiolatry. Hyparxiolatry it's like idolatry where the self becomes the object of worship.
Oh,
It's
wow.
all about me. There's like
Isn't that narcissism?
well, no, it's not narcissism. It's I need to preserve me. The man uses the examples of murderers and thieves and criminals. It's all about them. Their life is about I need money for me. I need to take care of my
How
lifestyle.
is that
I need
different from narcissism? Oh, is
narcissism.
that because it's about the separation? So narcissists can still try to be in relationship and kind of seek out relationship, but this is really about a belief in separation between people.
Well, it's a belief that I need to survive as best as I possibly can.
Well, but everyone kind of has to have a healthy dose of that.
Absolutely. The narcissist, though, is somebody who's completely detached. They're just totally swept up in the beauty and glory of who they are as an individual.
Got it.
When they take tests and measures, they never come out with any problems or difficulties, never any challenges because they're just wonderful people. And
Right.
that's not what the hyparxiotic person is like. For
Oh,
them, it's like, well, I got to make sure I got enough money to pay my bills. I want to make sure that I have a place to live, I have good food, that I have influence,
they're the opposite of self-transcendent.
very
Yeah.
much, because
Yeah.
it's all about me.
Yeah.
Just myself is me. And the transcendent person, myself is all things.
Yeah.
I'm able to embrace, the fact that we're all part of the planet. There's a whole biome here that, I can
Well,
pull it all together.
this person, the numinist, is the person who can think of the extinction of the human race on this planet and go, well, it might be for the best.
Oh, I don't think so. Well,
No,
that's
no, no. It's not that they
No?
don't
I love
care.
that. I love that question. It's an interesting thing about how
Yes.
people create meaning. In fact,
Yes.
one of the things that I'm working on now, for example, the Numinous has three key questions that we need to deal with and that are the heart of our existential nature. Okay. And these are three,
Yeah.
I got this from Paul Tillich. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah. Wonderful.
He's a
Yes.
wonderful,
Yes.
love this guy. But he calls them three fears. And that the number one fear that human beings have is what? Any guesses?
Death?
Bingo, we have a winner. No more calls, please. Yes, the fear of death. Is death the end in my
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
Number one fear. The next fear that we have, does life carry any intrinsic meaning?
Yeah. The
This is really,
meaninglessness, fear of meaninglessness.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
the third one, which I find very important and has been really undeveloped until I'm doing, is worthiness, which is,
Am I
life
worthy? Yeah.
life challenges us about our life. Now, we're all imperfect. We make mistakes. We're not there. But overall, am I making a positive difference in life? Is
Yeah.
my presence and contribution here net positive, or am I just no good whatsoever? Which is a worthlessness, which
Right.
leads to really massive psychological problems. This is not
Yeah.
self-esteem.
And
This is
this is
something very
often
different.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is often captured in something I say a lot, which is that my goal is to contribute something, however small,
Yeah, absolutely.
to the betterment of a community, a family, a town,
Yeah.
however big,
So
wherever it
you're a
goes,
numinous person.
however it scales, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of my goal. Now, another question I have for you is, so I've been arguing, so my career was as an intelligence analyst.
Mhm.
So thought a lot about instability
Oh
in
yeah.
societies. And so for, I don't know, close to 20 years, I've been talking about the collapse of meaning,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
modern Western society. So I'd love to hear how you react to that.
You need to see this paper that we just wrote.
Okay, well, send it to
What's the
me.
name? What's the name of the paper? What's the name of the paper?
Finding more meaning in meaning making, development and
Yes.
validation of the ways of meaning scale.
Yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
we do, it's interesting because the research literature, what I'm excited about, it's a whole different approach to understanding meaning. Today, most of the work on meaning is looking, do you have meaning? How much meaning do you have? In what
Right.
areas is your meaning devoted? Is it comprehension? Is it purpose? Is it mattering? Okay. We've taken this to a whole nother level in that the numinous model tries to identify the basic factors that create meaning. Okay, what goes into creating? What are the dynamics that create meaning?
So the answers to these three questions we talked about, which represent the three big fears, those are what create meaning.
Well, I'll tell you the three things are some of them we talked about. One of them is the size of myself. Is it just me, or do I embrace all things? And then the other one is the orientation of myself from I worry about me.
Hmm.
Okay, it's a self-orientation to think of it like agency and communion on the other sense, or
Yeah.
community thing.
Yeah.
And then the third component is psychological time perspective, which is something that we
Yes.
don't talk a lot about,
But one of
but
my favorite topics. Yes.
absolutely
It's
very
so
important.
powerful for
Absolutely,
career. It's so powerful for health. It's so powerful for life satisfaction. It is like an
absolutely.
incredible indicator.
Yes,
Yeah.
especially at future time orientation. It
Yes.
seems to be
But
the
also,
best.
it really matters how you regard the past. If you can tell, Dan McAdams' work at
Yep.
Northwestern about the narrative self,
Mhm.
if you can learn to regard the past as a story in which you were able to overcome it, because everyone has things to overcome, anything, and get to where you are now, and now you can move forward. Like,
That's
great.
the key. Got to
Yeah.
move forward. You can't be lost in the past. You can't be lost in the present. But having a future time orientation is what brings us along. And
Yeah.
most importantly, having a transcendental time perspective, where,
Yes.
where your life now is one stage in a larger eternal process.
Right,
Right.
That
right,
is the
right.
most psychologically freeing experience for people.
Yes.
Yes,
Because they say
Yes.
that,
absolutely.
Because you don't
absolutely.
fear death, and so you can
But
actually
so
do
many people
things.
never get there. In
Yes,
fact, I would argue most people never get there.
exactly.
Yes.
But having that freedom allows you to go all in on life.
Yes,
You know what I'm
Yes.
yes,
saying? You go all in. Think of people like
Yes.
Martin Luther King, Buddha, Jesus,
Yes.
all of these
Well,
great
and
folks.
and even
They
people
didn't care
who
about
people
death.
don't even know their names, but they just go all in on life. I mean, so like
right,
at
right.
any level, at any
So,
scale.
so
Yeah.
two more.
But again, so this is where it all goes because
Yeah,
just having meaning, Frankel was a very brilliant man, but he was a little simplistic. He says if you have meaning is better than not having meaning.
Well,
But
that is true.
one of the things, and again, my model of meaning I call the logoplex in honor of him, because we have four broad orientations to meaning making. But one of the things that we realize that not all meaning making is the same.
Yeah.
People can have meaning, but for very different reasons.
right.
One of the examples we use in the paper, some people for spirituality, it encourages them to go all into groups, to empower people, to enliven and lift up groups. And for other people, their beliefs take them to want to kill and murder and maim other people in the name of their God. Both of them have this deep, resilient sense of meaning, but they're not the same,
You
and
know,
they
this
represent
this
very different things.
so this makes me think of Carmen's point about thinking about instability, but then it makes me think about like, okay, China and the US, like we could talk traditionally about how this difference in the answer to those questions really frames who we have become.
Hmm.
and where we're going.
Hmm.
And maybe intelligence analysis becomes less about sense making and more about meaning making. In other words, how
Oh,
studying
sure.
how we
Sure.
make meaning and how this other culture makes
I mean,
meaning.
I have so many.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And in
how would
fact, I just finished the study translating my scale in China. So we have a Chinese version of the scale and
Oh,
we analyze it there.
interesting.
And the
Oh, what did
dynamics
you
that
learn when you translated it over? I mean, you must have learned something. I mean, you must have learned something about the differences between the cultures.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, just how they see things, how they interpret things, even from a technical point of view and creating scales. A lot of times we have both positive and negative items. Well, in the US, we can understand them a lot better than in China, where the attitude may be very different for the negative item than the positive item, and that can have implications for scale development. So yeah, I mean, it's just it's interesting when I do a lot of cross-cultural research with different languages, how people use language, like some languages don't have plurals and or just don't have singular and
of
they do
course,
this
yeah.
and they don't have all the little things that we have and they sometimes don't have the same precision in word usage that we do. Like I'd have a word that we'd use, but my translators have to put it into a phrase, several words to be
That's
able to
German.
explain.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, German. Yeah, well, they live
So
for compound words, but
so a couple of questions. So as
yeah.
a like a country analyst thinking about countries, I always
Mhm.
thought that I'd rather be an aspirational country or society, an aspirational society, than a society that thinks they've made it. Because I think
Oh,
if
absolutely,
you're a
absolutely.
society that you think you've made it, it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
obviously on the
Well,
Yes.
again, the aspirational is the future time perspective. When you think
Yes,
you've
it's
yes,
the
made it,
future
you're
yes.
time
sitting
It's
in
perspective.
healthy.
you're just sitting in the present or the past.
Yeah.
So do you think that I mean, I think we kind of have a problem, like one of the best sort of developmentally powerful, I'm going to make this argument that
Go
you
for
could
it.
say is bullshit because I don't know what I'm talking about, but it feels to me, so just to be clear, like I'm making this, pulling this out of my ass, but it feels to me like one of the most developmentally powerful or progressive or successful times in our history was when we were like not sure we were going to make it and we were building this country and we were
Hmm.
like
Sure.
maybe it should work like this, maybe there should be two presidents, maybe there should be and then we sort of started and like, oh wait, now there's a war and it feels like we're entering a phase like almost the modern era as opposed to the postmodern era is defined as this like, well, we made it, this is how it is and we're awesome.
Yeah.
And that feels pathological to me in the sense that we know it's not healthy to not have a future time perspective in which you realize you will grow and change and new insights will emerge.
Hmm.
Am I being an overgeneralist because I don't really understand history?
No, well, I guess I think you capture the current zeitgeist of what's happening here in America. You got a narcissist leading us, who's all about just keeping our greatness. It's like, well, where are we going? What's the vision? What are we
Right.
What is the
aspiring to?
vision? I think it's
There is none.
pathological not to have a vision. And
Right.
I think this is a nonpartisan point. I think it's pathological for any political party or any someone who wants to try to lead any kind of organization to not have a vision
Oh,
because
Well,
absolutely, absolutely.
what I will say, it kind of in a correction to that, but not really, but as an observation, the progressives in America fell on hard times because they had too much vision.
oh, I
And they were,
disagree.
no, they had too much vision. And this was a vision that was not shared.
Oh,
That's the point.
that's the yes,
That's the
I
point.
agree. I should
Now
A
we
that's
have a
right.
vision
winner.
that they had more vision
That's right.
that was unshared
They narrowed themselves to a tiny little
to a vision where,
rivulets. Yeah.
yes. And
That was not embraced by most people. You're
Yeah,
right.
that's a good
And
correction. That's a good
so
and
correction.
the
even
second thing
worse.
I've
uh,
been wanting to mention this for a while. So I was just exposed to this thinker. Curious if you're familiar with him, Emmanuel Levinas or Levinas,
Huh.
Levinas.
Nope.
He's Jewish philosopher, Emmanuel Levinas. He died maybe 30 years ago. and he kind of extends Martin Buber's
Oh yeah, right.
thinking
Good old
about
Marty. I
thou,
versus thou. Yeah, yeah,
and so his view is so subtle that it's very hard for me to like get it. But
yeah.
his view is the very fact that we have encountered another person places an ethical and moral obligation on both of us. So you
Mm.
don't need an ethical framework. You don't need, like do unto others as you would have. You don't need any of that. His argument basically is that that the very fact you encounter another being places this ethical moral responsibility on you. It's
Well, if
Oh yes,
yeah,
yes. It's called.
if you're an
It's
ethical person, it does.
well
yeah,
again.
that's a good point. If you're
That
an
comes
ethical
that
person,
comes right out of Jewish theology. It's called
yes,
Arv.
he is Jewish.
Yeah,
Yes,
Well, no, it's called Arvis, which is a
yeah,
commitment to communities.
yeah.
The Jewish community is very interesting. Usually, the pattern is from economic development. When someone comes here and they're poor, they're very democratically oriented, very on the left. I need social programs, I need wealth. But as they become more wealthier, move up the socioeconomic level, then it becomes more conservative. And it's like, I need to preserve and protect what I've got here and not, spend it away someplace else. But Jews differ on that. They're always community oriented. They're
right, right,
always about the community because what you do in community may affect me in community and
right,
vice
right.
versa. So I remember one of my students who was a Jewish rabbi used the example, let's say you're on a ship and the ship sinks and you and another guy are in this lifeboat together. And you're not really good friends, so you decide, okay, you sit in the back of the boat, I'll stay in the front of the boat, and we'll just have our different areas to go by. So everything's fine. But then you look and you see the other guy in the back of the boat is taking a little hand drill and is drilling a hole in the bottom of the boat.
Yeah.
Well, even though it's on his side of the boat, I have something to say about that, don't
Yeah.
I?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's this mutual obligation to one another that we need to care for other people because it creates a better quality community.
It's the recognition that there's a shared world.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll love this. I'm going to read you from the Wikipedia on Levinus or Levinus. Levinus prefers to think of philosophy as the wisdom of love
Mm.
rather than the love of wisdom. In his view, responsibility toward the other precedes any objective searching after truth. So
Absolutely. I
there's
can understand.
Wow.
there's it's very subtle,
No, it's a very,
but
very
but very
Jewish
powerful.
idea. It's a very
Yeah.
Jewish idea. I mean,
Yeah.
the Jews had the belief you save a person's life, you save the world.
Well, it was
Right.
just the high holiday.
Exactly.
It was just, no, it is the high holidays right now. It was just Rosh
Yes, Rosh
Hashanah. Yom
Hashanah.
Kippur is coming up, and at Yom
Yeah.
Kippur, we um
Have
we
atonement.
we atone, but not just for things we've done, because anything that has
Oh,
happened in the community, we've done.
right.
Yeah.
We've allowed to happen. So we atone for rape and murder and everything, all of it. And at first I was, because I converted, at first I was sort of taken aback, like, wait a minute, I didn't do that. And then I was like, that's interesting.
Hmm.
In a sense, it depends on the meaning question about how big is your I?
Well, it's all
How
about
big is
worthiness.
yourself? Yeah.
It's all about worthiness for
Well,
yourself
it's
and your
also about
community.
the size of
Yeah.
the I. Like if you expand
Absolutely.
the identity of the I, the size of the I, then you
Yes.
solve the death problem. When you die, you don't really die
No.
Right.
because it's not just your body, right?
Mhm.
You solve the what are the other two questions?
Meaning, is there meaning in life?
Oh, is there meaning
Absolutely.
life? Obviously. And then the worthiness problem solved because this whole community is this, can I help make this community worthy? Yeah.
Right. And if I fail, there's always forgiveness,
Yeah.
divine
Yeah.
forgiveness.
Yeah.
Which brings us back. I always think of the story of Cain after he killed Abel. I mean,
Whoops.
God was very upset with him and says,
Yeah.
"You're out of here."
Yeah.
And he just went into a real noological crisis there. And
Yeah.
said, "Well, what do you mean you're condemning me? I mean, if you condemn me, I'm fucked.
You made me.
Well, but I'm screwed, right?
Right.
Right.
People are
Right.
going to
Right.
kill me. They're going to hurt me." And God
Right.
had to really say, "Oh, calm down,"
Yeah.
and really respond to that because that type of existential condemnation is very powerful. If
Yeah.
God rejects you, to what court of appeals do you turn?
Right. And
Who's
so
going
then,
to
but so then, so we can talk about, I mean, then we have to sort of ask how, in what way can we move towards beyond Jewishness? Because it's not like every Jew is like that. Like, it's not like it's stuck for
No.
Judaism. And so beyond the sort of those kind of sectarian insights, how can we move towards, sorry, I'm going to ask this question. How can we move towards a world in which there is more awareness of the numinous and the power of the numinous? And
Can
how
I,
could,
and
yeah,
yeah, I was just going to put an indent in here because my question I think fits as part of this, which is I feel like a lot of contemporary religion, spirituality, whatever word you want to use, is failing uh, the current challenge of our circumstances. I don't know how else to say that.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
absolutely. As a
So
matter
that's
of
the
fact,
same question. That's the same question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, but actually, the Surgeon General of the United States has come up with a new, who says the top public health issue is a lack of social meaning. He calls it the epidemic of loneliness and isolation
yeah.
as the number one public health crisis that we're experiencing
I don't
today.
think that's the current Surgeon General, but I do remember that guy. That,
2023 is when this came out.
Okay,
yeah,
so this would have been, no, I agree.
Recently,
I
recent.
agree with that.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's absolutely fantastic
Yeah, it's a
and
breakdown in
true
meaning. It's a
and
breakdown in
true.
meaning. Yeah.
But what can we do? So let's get ourselves onto that time perspective that where we think we have a future orientation where we have realistic hope for a positive future. Why would we have realistic hope for a positive future? Like, what can give us realistic hope for a positive future that increases meaning, where there's awareness of the value of numinosity, where there's awareness of self-transcendence as a powerful motivator for communities and families and individuals. I mean, how do we get there?
Well, we got to get away from identity politics because
Yes.
that's what breaks it all apart. Everybody's got their own unique thing,
Everyone's got their gripe.
right? They got their gripes, they got their problem. It's like, we need to get beyond that and go from me to us.
Hmm.
Like, together as a community, we have a lot of things facing us in our society. Yeah,
Yes.
but we have also a failure in leadership of people to get out there and call us to the higher superordinate goals that are there that all of us need to be working for to move us forward.
So we need to get back to being an aspirational society rather than we got it all figured out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But we
Yeah.
need a leader to identify where that place is.
Or
You can
do
think,
we need a leader, or can it be like a grassroots understanding of what's true?
yeah, somebody needs to point it out and get us going on that.
We probably need
I
all
think
of
it's
it.
like
We probably
JFK.
need internal and external leadership.
That's why I say the leader, because the leader not only identifies where we need to go, but brings the people together to embrace that vision to move forward. I think of like John F. Kennedy and his address, inaugural address, when he says we're going to take a man to the moon and back again by the end of this decade. I mean, there's a leader pointing out what we want to do, where we want to go, why it's important. Why?
We have
Because
to
it's
do
the
the
hard
hard
things, and
things.
that's who we
Yes.
do. That's who
Yes.
we are. We do hard things.
Yeah, but see
You know,
that's all about aspiration, and but in order to be
absolutely.
aspirational, but there's a first step before being aspirational. Step zero, right? If step
Okay.
one is getting aspirational, step zero is you have to admit that you're not there.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so that's the hard part right
Well,
now.
I worry a
I
lot about
agree.
what I call the watching society, where we've become a society of watchers. We are the meaning in our lives is watching. So whenever I often encounter friends, or not even particularly close friends, but just someone, and we're making conversation, and they'll go, "Well, what are you watching these days?" And I'm almost like a belligerent non-watcher. It's become like my identity that I am not going to be a watcher that way. And I know my position is a little too extreme,
No.
but I fly a lot and I watch these 130 humans on this plane.
See, that's what you watch. You watch humanity.
I watch humanity. They're all watching their
Screens.
favorite
No, but you're engaging yourself
endorphin
with people.
producing
Yeah.
thing.
They're
Yeah.
watching screens.
They're
You're
watching
watching
screens.
humanity.
You're watching life. You're getting into
Yes.
life. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm the same way too. It's like,
Yeah.
watching TV. Are you on LinkedIn? Who's got time for this stuff? You know, I'm doing research, I'm writing papers, I'm giving lectures, I'm trying to get an idea across to the larger field. Why do I need LinkedIn? Why do I need social media? Why do I have to have TikTok? It was like, really? You know, if I want to talk to somebody,
Well,
I
I
got a
mean, there
wife and
is
children,
something
and
associated with meaning. So, meaning and narrative are linked.
of
Yeah.
course they are.
And so we've got
They're
these huge
confounded with each other.
yeah, we've got these huge platforms now that are creating
Narrative.
narrative 24 by 7,
Mhm.
just like a butterfly effect of narratives. And frankly, some of them are extremely, hopefully we can objectively say this, extremely unhelpful. But that's where people are. That's where they find their meaning.
Are they finding meaning? So I don't
Well, they
know.
find something that they think is
I think
meaning.
they're not finding coherent or numinous
Yeah, and
meaning.
it makes me sad. I watch it because that's what I watch is I watch that, and it makes me sad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's a very destabilizing process that, I mean, it's an oxymoron. They call it social media, but you're anything but social.
Right.
Okay,
Just you
and
as the individual.
because we're coming to the end of our time, I just have to say something hopeful, which is that it's very clear that Gen Z folks, having grown up in this world,
Are
get it that it's shallow.
are bored by it.
They're bored by it. It's
They're bored by
like
it.
that's what their parents are into.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not cool. What's cool is to like start to get
Yeah.
together with your friends or start a band or
Right.
make videos or something.
Yeah.
That so I think like that has reached its end. And so we
I
just have to
hope
deal
so.
with the several generations that have been addicted and destroyed. But anyway,
Well,
I think
from your lips
meaning
to
is
God's ears is all I can say. I mean,
I think
seriously.
meaning is being
Yeah.
created by those by that generation at a rate that is necessary.
Well, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
So,
I really
Dr.
do.
Right
Piedmont,
too.
are you associated with a university? Just
I
curious.
was a professor at Loyola University, Maryland, in their pastoral counseling department,
Uh-huh.
but they closed it down. So,
Uh,
and so I moved out of there. They wanted to put me someplace that I would not be happy at. So,
so
Yeah.
let me
are you
get
still
out.
in Maryland or are you
Oh
someplace
yeah,
else?
yes,
Oh
I
yeah.
live in Timonium, Maryland, and
Oh, very
like I
cool. Very
say,
cool.
I started my Center for Professional Studies. I teach part-time at Johns Hopkins in their counseling program.
Very
Cool.
cool.
So I stay busy, and I also on the side I have a rare coin and currency business. I'm a coin collector that just went crazy. So
Wow. Do you own a store or do you do it
oh no,
online?
no, no, I do a lot of trade shows and on the internet.
Yeah,
If I
yeah.
had a store, again, to be competitive, I don't need that kind of overhead.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah,
And
I
you
do
don't need a
enjoy
store
them.
to be competitive either.
Not at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
been a very
I mean a
busy.
brick and mortar store.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really
Yeah.
interesting. Well,
I
you're
love
really
them.
fun. Thanks for
Oh, thanks.
That was great. Is there
thanks for
anything else?
tolerating our back
Did
and
we
forth.
I love you people. You think like I do. I mean, I
did we
think we're pretty much on the, I don't know
yeah?
about the animal intelligence thing. I think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we have more conversations on
Agree to
that than,
disagree, but I think it's
Now,
a fascinating.
did
yeah.
you get to say everything you wanted to say? I mean, in
Uh,
terms of
no, I got the idea of the numinous being very important. I think
yeah, I love that.
whether you see it as uniquely human or not, I think empirically, it's a separate dimension
No
that speaks
question.
meaningfully to us as people and
Yeah,
our aspirational selves. And
yeah.
that is the numinous. Um,
And
uh,
so have you been measuring people on that
Oh,
scale?
absolutely. I have the
And
numinous motivation inventory.
what's the bell curve look like?
It looks like a
Yeah.
bell curve.
It looks like a
Okay.
bell curve.
Yeah. So you have people on one end who are essentially
It's a
schizo.
normally distributed variable.
So you have people who are essentially schizophrenic on one end, really? Is that
Conceptually, I see schizophrenia as the low end of the numinous, and I see the transcendental perspective as being the high end of what the numinous is.
so? If going back to our original discussion about sort of value judgments, is there a way that I mean, so sometimes I see in the New Age movement people who listening to this conversation would think, yeah, I'm totally numinous. I'm on the like wait. But my experience of them, and maybe this is because I'm not numinous enough, but my experience of them is that that isn't helping. Like they're so almost far it's like like high numinosity combined with high openness that's so
Yes.
high that like all is love and peace, and there's no acknowledgement of like maybe you want to take care of your child and make sure they don't see, violent videos or something, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
practical
Yeah.
things. And
Yes.
so I wonder if you see that on the other
Uh,
end of the scale.
Well, again, some of that, I think part of the problem is, when I was much more actively involved in the spirituality world, I was always calling the field, we have to define what is spirituality. We have no definitions for it. But Ken Parkman came up with a definition, and it's like, it's the only thing that's out there. It's not very good, but he says spirituality is the search for the sacred. And the question is, what is the sacred? And you
Mm-hmm.
have to look very hard in his writings to find it, but essentially it's connecting with some eternal larger being or reality. Is
Mm-hmm.
what
Right.
that is. And it's
Right.
about a relationship, it's about a way of being.
It's
Uh,
the self-transcendent numinous stuff.
right,
Yeah.
absolutely. A lot
Yeah.
of the new age stuff is just selfish, it's
Yeah.
self-involving, it's narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you
Marxiolatry
for
in
saying
nature,
that.
you know?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I got
Oh, I
boots,
was
I
raised
got,
up on that
oh,
stuff and like went
yeah,
to EST as a child. Like my parents put me in the
yeah.
EST children's training, and it
Ooh,
was just all about like how you could manipulate and control the universe and make it do what you want. And I'm like, how is this evolved in any way?
it's
Like it's
not,
So
it's not. But it
childish.
is a meaning-making format.
It,
yes.
Right? But it's
well,
very different from a transcendental format, isn't it?
it
So
sure is.
having meaning is not enough to be resilient and to really actualize as a person. There's a certain transformative style to the transcendental meaning making that
Yeah.
really makes people go all in to really empower themselves, to empower others and communities. It's a whole different reality. And the points of this paper here, and I'll send you a copy via email. I'd love to
Yay.
hear. You'll share it with Carmen. I don't think I have
Yes. Yeah,
Carmen's.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd love to get your feedback on it, but it goes into more detail to show that not all meaning making is the same. We need
No,
a more sophisticated view of where we're going with this meaning if we want to really move forward as a
we
community.
need to understand that healthy meaning versus pathological meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I just want to tell you here at the end that when my favorite catchphrase for
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
how I describe myself, is I always say I'm profoundly shallow. And see, I knew he would get it. And a lot of people will go, "Well, you're not shallow at all," and I go, "Oh, forget it."
I think we're all profoundly shallow.
Don't you?
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think, one of my students came up with a very good term for the numinous. He calls it ontological inquisitiveness,
Oh, I
which
love
is,
it. I
I love
love
it.
it.
We disagree on a definition, so I'll give you my definition. That this ontological inquisitiveness is a desire to seek out and connect with some larger implicit reality that seems to be controlling the flow of human experiences in the
Right.
universe.
This is the power. This is the power.
That's great. That's
That
awesome.
that's
Yes,
fantastic. Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you
Well,
all
thank
very
you for
much.
such an invigorating
I love your
explanation
questions. I
point.
love this
Oh
is
my
my
God.
favorite kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We
So
got to do
good.
more of these.
Yeah, we'll
yeah.
have you back.